First off, let me start by saying that I'm not saying that Disney Star Wars movies are bad. I personally didn't like The Force Awakens so much that I didn't feel like watching Rogue One in cinemas, to my greatest regret, because Rogue One was awesome. As much as I'll get slack for saying this, I actually love The Last Jedi. It was a war movie in space. How much more accuracy do you want to the title? The whole movie was about coming up with the best tactic to escape while low on fuel and outnumbered, as well as outgunned, while everyone is debating what the best course of action is. And whether you like the movie or not is an entirely different case, but I'm not here to talk about The Last Jedi. I'm here to talk about Star Wars Episode 7 and how I would have done it. If I were in charge of the creative process, of course. Now, we all know that this man right here, the father of Star Wars, George Lucas, sold the rights to Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012. Disney immediately announced a sequel trilogy. Now, this may have excited fans all over the world, me included, because, it's Star Wars. And 21st century technology, the CGI is obviously better. Lightsaber duels, especially from the original trilogy, with better CGI now would have been epic beyond proportion. Although we were all excited, it did come with some consequences. The old canon, as people like to call it, referred to as Legends canon now, and formerly officially known as the Expanded Universe, was declared non-canon. This meant that all the old and New Republic novels, the video games, the comics, short stories, the animation, everything was no longer considered canon. Fan-favorite characters like Starkiller, originally called Galen Marek, Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Asajj Ventress, Darth Bane, Darth Revan, Darth Nihilus, Darth Sidious, aka Jason Solo, Mara Jade Skywalker, and so many other characters were discarded in favor of new canonical characters. Although George Lucas himself said that nothing outside his 6 movies is canon, no matter how much all the other material expanded on his original stories, and author James Luceno wanted to explain Sifo Dyas' mystery from Attack of the Clones, and even got Lucas' blessing and permission, being told that he can explain it all in his book. And some of its elements can be in the movies, but the book itself would not be canon. Word still got out that everything Star Wars related was canon. I may be misinformed about who gets to decide what's canon and what's not, but I choose to listen to Lucas's words because he made Star Wars. Yeah, that's the painful truth of it. He made Star Wars, he gets to decide what's canon, what's not canon. It's his baby. I'm partial like that. I'm a content creator myself. Disney steps in, declares everything to be non-canon, then announces that Star Wars, Clone Wars, the 3D one, would remain canon, cancels it, then announces a new animated show, Star Wars Rebels. The problem with that move is that the Clone Wars was already going against things that were in Revenge of the Sith, such as the existence of Ahsoka Tano and how big of a role she played in Anakin's life. Yet she isn't even remotely hinted at in Revenge of the Sith. Or, consider how Count Dooku says,
"Good. Twice the pride, double the fall."
Clearly implying that this is only the second time they've met. Yet they face off multiple times in the Clone Wars. I can go on about that in another video if you want. I was just trying to lay down a platform to begin my explanation here of how I would have done this movie. I'd have heeded Lucas's words, ignoring all the expanded universe stories, and come up with my own. Just kidding. It's not the end. Anyway, I'd make use of characters that were introduced in the expanded universe as well as the ones in the new canon, because I can see that Black Lives Matter and feminism is the future of Hollywood and racial equality is a very important thing in movie making. Now, on to the movie. Start off the movie with a ship that resembles Padme Amidala's as it lands on Coruscant. Leia steps out of it with Admiral Talon Krieg. They discuss the political climate and the issue of deep space exploration, and he says that it's a bad idea. Leia has no thoughts about it. They get into a smaller transport and head over to the Senate building. The former one had been destroyed when the Empire was defeated and rebuilt. It has flags with the New Republic insignia hanging on the outside as well. get to the political debate in Coruscant. Yes, politics. About exploring the unknown regions. In the midst of the debate, state that Luke is a Grandmaster and decided to keep the Jedi away from politics, trying to avoid the mistakes of the previous order. Also, have them establish that Leia is a senator representing New Alderaan, or Alderaan II, a previously uninhabited planet which she was given to in order to govern, along with other Alderaanians who weren't on the original planet when the Empire blew it up. Do not show Luke though, just show Leia. Talk about how the New Republic was formed, but there are still remnants of the Empire running amok and they've become terrorists. Have some senators say that they're just another rebellion and that the New Republic has just substituted the Empire. In the end, the exploration project gets approved, so show the people going there, escorted by a handful of Jedi. One of them is fan favorite character Rey, played by Daisy Ridley. Yay! As well as New Republic armed forces, with one of them being Finn, played by our very own John Boyega. They get attacked. Whoever the enemy is, they're immune to the Force, so the Jedi are just dudes with lightsabers at this point. The ship gets blown up while a distress signal is being sent out. Cut to a scene of young Ben Skywalker training with a taller figure who we later find out is his cousin Jacen Solo on Ossus, the planet housing the new Jedi Academy, which is based on a mountain. A lot like temples in martial arts movies, basically. As explained before, Luke does not want to be a part of the political climate, so he chose to have a new order rise on another planet on the Outer Rim. He felt that the Jedi's meddling in political affairs led them to their near extinction and left them blind to what was really going on. He felt that it was better to barricade themselves even more from the galaxy's affairs in order to explore more of the Force rather than just use it for war. Basically, he wanted the Jedi to be like monks. Jacen chose to be like Anakin Skywalker in his youth, always questioning, but a hero nonetheless. He also has a twin sister, Jaina, and a younger brother, Anakin Solo. While training, they sense a disturbance in the Force as their brethren have been killed and go to Luke. On the way there, they meet Luke's wife, Mara Jade, and she takes them to him. Have a Jedi Council meeting where they discuss the events and what they sense, then decide to send Luke and Jacen to Coruscant. In Coruscant, they meet Leia, who explains to them about the distress signal, and in the conversation we find out that she and Han haven't seen each other for a few years. We get more of Jacen questioning the Jedi teachings with a conversation between him and Leia. So Luke goes with Jacen to find out what's going on in the signal's location and run into Rey and Finn, and the two are taken to Ossus. In Ossus, Rey wakes up and explains what she saw. Luke wonders how there are beings who are immune to the Force and says he needs answers from another Jedi temple, and that maybe the one in Coruscant has some answers. Before leaving for Coruscant with Luke, we find out that Jacen and Rey are in a relationship. So he goes to Coruscant with Luke and they get to the temple. They find records of the stuff that predates the Old Republic, but it is damaged. They take it anyway, and on their way out, they are attacked by Imperial terrorists, aka surviving stormtroopers. That leads to some action with Luke and Jacen stealing the show. They barely escape though, and leave the planet, only to be attacked by several TIE fighters, which have been modified. When it gets too intense, a lot of them blow up and we hear somebody shout, "Yahoo!" And it turns out to be Han in the Millennium Falcon, Chewie and Jaina. After the fight, they land on Coruscant and talk. On Ossus, show that Rey is Ben's master, even though she is very young herself, and it's often stated that she gets too carried away with her excitement, but she has proven to be among the best and most powerful Jedi. Have some bonding scenes with them, where she teases him about his only skill being that he's a mechanic, which shouldn't serve him well in a fight, to which he replies that at least he can keep his head level in a fight. This is all amicable, of course. Show Finn and have him explain things as well, and he gets close to Rey. Mara Jade acts like the mother to all Jedi there as well. She also has a good relationship with Rey. It turns out that she trained Rey, but Rey was too advanced to stay under her wing any longer. Mara is said to be the best swordsman of the Order. Finn also bonds with Ben and teaches him how to use blasters. Ben isn't that much of a fighter though. He's just an average Jedi, but his technical expertise is notable. He's more of a fixer of broken ships, speeders, droids, and the like. At this point, he's just special because of his name. Back in Coruscant, Han meets with Leia and they have petty arguments, and we find out that he ran away because he sold a Star Cruiser in exchange for his life, which he owed to a group of pirates who caught him stealing from them. The bounty was cleared out, but he ran away because he knew how mad Leia was. Classic Han Solo. Have some scenes of Luke and Jacen discussing the Jedi history and Jedi way, then also have Han and Leia reconciling before Leia is called to the Senate for an emergency meeting. There we see the new enemy finally reveal themselves, the Yuuzhan Vong, an ancient species that the Republic did not know about, and they are on a mission of expansion. Grand Admiral Thrawn, a Chiss, not a Yuuzhan Vong, but unknown to everyone of course. Nobody knows what a Yuuzhan Vong looks like, and Admiral Thrawn uses that to his advantage, and he claims to be one of them, is the one speaking in the message. They sent a message to the Senate demanding immediate, unconditional surrender, or they would bring a war far worse than the Clone Wars or the Civil War ever was. The Senate starts panicking and all of that, the usual tension. They have discussions. Han and the Jedi are left in Leia's office. Oh, and 3PO hangs out with Leia full time now, by the way, and R2 is with Luke. So here, have R2 and 3PO banter and stuff while Luke and Han discuss wartime stories with Chewie adding some one-liners. Jacen also interacts with Jaina. It turns out Jaina trained as a Jedi but opted to join her father in his escapades as an adventurer, whereas Anakin Solo has been unheard of for some time but was last seen with Leia. Meanwhile, on Ossus, the Yuuzhan Vong launched their attack on the Jedi, who couldn't sense the attack coming because, they're immune to the Force. The Jedi start running and defending themselves, but as said before, they're just people waving lightsabers around at this point. Their view of the Force in a mystical manner has failed them, and now they're paying the price with their lives. And that leaves an opening for a badass scene of Mara Jade cutting up Yuuzhan Vong, Palpatine style. She has a purple lightsaber too. Rey goes, does her thing as well, Finn joins in, Ben activates the temple's mechanical defenses, which he designed himself, and there's a massive battle in the temple. After Mara cuts down all the Yuuzhan Vong who have entered the temple, there's still more outside though, she starts guiding the Jedi to escape ships to leave the planet. Rey takes Ben and Finn with her and they get into an escape ship. Mara gets into her own ship and leaves. Ben has attachment issues, so he is sad to see his mom go. Then we see Thrawn step out of his ship and walk around with pride and looks at the fallen Jedi, then tells his elite guard to pick up their lightsabers while he goes into the temple to steal all their knowledge. He then delivers a message to his master, who is revealed to be Snoke. At this point, we can't really be excited because we're seeing Snoke for the first time. And he says that he's taken what he can from the temple and will resume his assault on the New Republic, to which Snoke agrees. Cut to Coruscant, and have Luke sense a disturbance in the Force as many Jedi were killed, but he doesn't know who or how, but theorizes that it must have been the Yuuzhan Vong who did it. Leia bursts in saying she sensed the same thing and says that the Senate will not surrender and that they're considering war against the Yuuzhan Vong. They sent out a message that they hope will reach them, asking for a peaceful solution to their problems and differences. Leia believes in a diplomatic solution. Does that sound familiar? But she is open to war. Have a scene with Thrawn laying out battle plans and showing how well he knows the structure of the New Republic, where to hit and how, who the important figures are and all of that stuff. Basically show that this guy is just too ultimate and that his logic is flawless. Then have him explain parts of his past by saying that he grew up in a place where you must know everything about everyone in order to survive. explain that his parents were politicians and basically mastered the art of warfare. Have him see the message the Senate sent him, and he discards it. He launches an attack on a planet called Mimbin right after. It's a small planet under the protection of the New Republic, but not heavily fortified. He says he's doing it for the fun of it, just to create more chaos and disarray in the Senate. He leaves no survivors on their first attack, so that the people start fearing their potential before finally breaking them. Then, cut to Mara Jade landing on Coruscant and Luke going to her. They meet and chat, and she explains the situation to them. Luke is left curious. Cut to Rey and company, and they go to Jakku. They remain there in hiding, and Rey explains her backstory to Finn. She was there as a child, waited for her parents for some time, then Han found her and took her in, then found out she was force sensitive, so he took her to Luke. When Han found her is when she met Jacen. They plan a route to Coruscant, but need parts for their ship and fuel and stuff. Finn is shown to be developing an attraction to Rey as well. Ben looks at her like an older sister. So, we have a montage showcasing Ben's mechanical skills as he fixes up a ship for them to escape in. Showcase Rey's knowledge of the working of the place as she negotiates for some parts. Have Finn be the comic relief, making silly questions and suggestions about the Force to Ben, then acting like an expert on it when Rey shows up. Eventually, they finish everything and take off. On Coruscant, they discuss the brewing war, and Han shows his expertise when mapping out the galaxy, stating the path the Yuuzhan Vong would follow to get to Coruscant, which would go through Corellia. Luke points out that they attacked Ossus, and shows where it happened. Han then points out that they will most likely follow a certain path, but the Grand Admiral of the Republic fleet feels belittled and disagrees with Han, saying that they will follow another path which is shorter and easier. They have an argument about it, and Han is sent out of the war room. Leia follows him out. Jacen hears the plan out, along with Jaina. Luke is there as well and hears it out. After all the drama, Han says that the Republic is doomed if they follow the Grand Admiral's plan, who you know to be Talon Krieg. So he recruits a group of renegade pilots from the old days and their followers, so they go out together to fight off the fleet. Leia argues that this could get him killed and that he's not as young as he used to be. He assures her that they'll see each other at the end of it all, and he says his classic line, "Never tell me the odds." So as he walks out, she says, "You know, you're an idiot, but I love you." And Han turns to her and says, "I know." Luke joins in on the plan, and so do the Solo kids. Mara's on board. The plan is that Han, Chewie, and Jaina distract the fleet while Luke, Jacen, and Mara sneak aboard Thrawn's vessel and kill him. The hiccup is that the ship Rey, Ben, and Finn are in is following a path that will be caught in the ensuing battle. The fuel that Rey and company's ship got was not enough to get to Coruscant, so they stopped somewhere near Corellia, which is Han's homeworld. They want to descend, but then Thrawn's ship emerges from hyperspace. And it turns out that Corellia is a world that supplies a lot of star cruisers to the Republic, so Thrawn wants to take it down. His armada emerges from hyperspace too. Thousands of fighters exit the Yuuzhan Vong star cruisers and attack the small ship. Rey displays her piloting skills while dodging their fire. She holds her own for a while until they get a hit a few times. With just one last hit left, the Millennium Falcon emerges from hyperspace, and so do the other Resistance fighters and cruisers. Han talks to Leia via hologram and gives her the "I told you so" look. Jaina is in her own fighter, Jacen too, Luke too, and he is partnered with R2. They call out their call signs and stuff and prepare for battle. Rey recognizes the Millennium Falcon and smiles as it flies past her ship and towards the battle. The Yuuzhan Vong armada vastly outnumbers the Resistance fleet, and their weapons are better in every way. Their ships are knife-shaped, making them difficult to shoot down, and are incredibly fast. Luke can't use the Force like he did in A New Hope to shoot them down, so he has to be practical. The other Force users feel the same way. The battle goes on. Rey docks her ship in the Resistance Starcruiser and gets a new fighter for herself to go help out. Ben and Finn join the group that is meant to enter the main cruiser to provide backup for the Jedi. They all fly towards Thrawn's ship. The battle goes on for some time, and Rey gets herself into some trouble after getting too excited, so Han sacrifices the perfect shot he had at the observation spire Thrawn was in to go save her, and ends up getting blown up along with Chewie. The others go and land in the Star Cruiser and fight their way through the cruiser. They then face off against the Yuuzhan Vong elite guards while Thrawn observes their skills. The elite guards do not die though. They retreat as the Jedi are tired. We then see Thrawn step up and talk to the Jedi, bringing up their flaws and weaknesses as an order, and their blind faith in the Force, everything else. He talks about how their legacy is failure, and that they are not self-sufficient, that they live with no purpose other than to serve other people. And Luke realizes that pushing the Senate away is not the answer to the problems, that the Jedi were peacekeepers, and that means keeping an eye on the Senate, just more attentively than his predecessors did, of course. Thrawn tells them that they cannot kill him because if they do, their whole fleet will be lost in an instant. He says that his ship has a weapon capable of destroying entire fleets with one shot. The Jedi cannot tell whether he is lying or not, because, well, yeah. But Jacen lashes out in anger at Thrawn. The elite guards fight him and scar him, the same way Kylo Ren is scarred during his battle with Rey. And the Jedi attack them. Thrawn goes, very well, and fires his weapon, which creates a sort of rift that sucks part of the Resistance fleet into it. And it explodes, along with some of his own fleet as well. The Jedi stop fighting when they sense the extensive loss of life. Thrawn smiles at them, then sits on his chair. Tells them to go back and reconsider their actions, that they will not get past his guards. And they happen to be wielding the stolen lightsabers from their raid at the temple. The Jedi have no choice but to leave, and Jacen swears revenge on Thrawn. They cannot do anything about Corellia being invaded and destroyed and retreat, stating that there are 3 more planets just like Corellia, along with other small-scale providers of star cruisers. They get back to Coruscant and meet with Leia, who is sad about Han because she sensed his death when he was blown up with Chewie. She meets with their kids and they embrace as a family. Luke and his family watch sadly. Rey is on her own and Finn comforts her, or at least tries to, but she pushes him away. Jacen notices this. He isn't with her right now because he's grieving. And because, Rey is also part of the reason Han died. The Senate has a meeting about the new war, and Luke says that the Jedi will now become a new entity in the Senate and will have a say in galactic affairs. The Chancellor accepts this, as Leia spoke to her earlier. They're friends, by the way. There's an honorary funeral for Han and Chewie, and Jacen walks away. Rey follows him, and they talk. Jacen says that he wants revenge but can't take it because it's not the Jedi way. She blames herself as well for being so cocky. He says that he is glad she's alive because he fears losing her. They embrace. Luke talks about finding the lost Jedi, but only when he can guarantee their safety, as this reminded him of Order 66. Leia talks about contacting Anakin Solo for help in the war effort. They then watch as the army of the New Republic assembles, and the war against the First Order has begun.